and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be looking at a beast of a plant in my collection. Let me go grab it. It's freaking heavy. Ah! So this, my friends, is my Philodendron Pink Princess, and today I'm going to be talking all about the care of this absolute magnificent plant. If you are new here and you don't know me already, my name is Emma and I make houseplanting content all over the internet, so if you want to follow along with my houseplanting journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos, and subscribe to my channel. Right, let's talk about this one. Still figuring out how to hold this plant. Right now I'm holding it between my calves, which is not the most comfortable thing, so we might have some adjustment, but I just want you to be able to see this amazing leaf because it is so absolutely stunning, and because it's such a tall plant, it's like a climber by nature, it's kind of hard to get it all in one shot nicely, so we're gonna do this for now. But a Philodendron Pink Princess is a Philodendron erubescens, which is a type of climbing philodendron, like the white princess is one of them as well, and it is just a variegated type of that with pink variegation, hence the name Pink Princess. And it is a really sought after plant. A lot of people really want them, and I totally get why. I really wanted one for a while as well, and I have had a couple actually. This is my, I think technically third one, but they have been so expensive in the past few years. I've bought quite small ones for like 75 pounds, which is quite a lot, but more recently the prices dropped dramatically. I've started seeing them in stores for a lot less, which is great. It makes them much more accessible, and so pretty much anyone can get one now, which is amazing. I love that we can all share this sort of gorgeous pink plant. It's one of the few pink plants that I'm just like, yes, I love this. So yeah, I'm really glad that the price has gone down. I actually got this one mislabeled as a burgundy princess, which I'm pretty sure isn't actually a real thing, but it was only 25 pounds from my local plant shop. But it's definitely a pink princess, like no question about it. This is a Philodendron pink princess. I've also found that with the right plant and the right conditions, they can grow quite quickly. This one has gone a bit crazy. It's almost been putting out a new leaf every week recently, which is brilliant. I couldn't ask for more, and with every leaf different than the last, it kind of creates a really good surprise every time a new leaf pops out, which is super lovely. Also, in my experience, I found it was easier to buy a slightly bigger plant. This one was quite large when I got it, and I found it so much easier to grow than the few little ones I had. I've had two small ones that I eventually combined into one plant because they weren't growing amazingly. And I honestly tried everything with them. I tried moss poles, I tried more light, I tried so many different things, and I couldn't get them to grow bigger or with more variegation. So I really struggled with it, and I ended up giving that plant away because it wasn't happy with me, and I couldn't seem to make it grow how I wanted it to. And when I got this one, I was just like, well, this is what I wanted all along. So I got rid of it, and I'm not mad about it. I love this plant, and this is the only one I need, really. Bright indirect light is ideal for the Pink Princess. I'm sure you're not surprised by that. Plants with variegation like a lot of bright indirect light because the parts that are variegated, which in this case are pink, they don't have chlorophyll, and so chlorophyll is what the plant uses to create energy in photosynthesis, and if those parts of the leaf don't have chlorophyll, it's not producing energy for the plant. And so if you want your plant to have more variegation, the best way to do it is to put it in a brighter spot, because then the plant will be searching for the light a little bit less and produce, hopefully, more variegation. That being said, you do not want to put your plant in too much direct sun. It can burn the leaves, especially the variegated parts. They're quite fragile, so avoid direct sun. A little bit of like early morning or late afternoon sun is fine, or dappled sun, but anything that's sort of like midday hot, summery sun, even wintry sun, like as long as it's warm and bright for like a long period of time, is going to be too much for this plant. So don't put it in like a south facing window all day, like right in there. But same also goes for places that are too dark. Too low of light will make the variegation in the plant reduce as it's trying to create more energy to grow. It'll also potentially create smaller leaves and grow a bit more leggy. I've personally got this one in not the ideal spot for sunlight, but I have put it underneath a grow light that is on for most of the day, and I find that it's really, really liking that. I think like technically it's like 6 meters or something away from a southwest facing window, which would be bright if it was right up next to it, but because it is so far pushed back, it's not getting that much light, and so the grow light is kind of important in order to keep this sort of variegation. I would not have been able to get this variegation had I not put the grow light there. So it really likes it, and I'm gonna keep putting the grow light on it because I know that's the only way I can keep this like insane pinkness. But don't let it touch grow lights because I have burnt the plant previously. I'll put a clip in of the leaf because I really can't move. I have burnt leaves previously when they touched grow lights, so avoid that if at all possible. If you do keep your pink princess in soil, it's best to water when it's dry about halfway down. Hello, motorcycle. That's what I did when I used to have this one in soil when I first got it, and it seemed to like that quite a lot. I have moved it to pond or semi-hydro. Probably not recently, it was probably like at least 6 months ago now, but I really, really like keeping plants like my pink princess in pond because it is a bit more lower maintenance. Because it's in a self-watering pot as well, I can just water when the reservoir is low, and I don't need to worry about like measuring the dryness of the soil, which just takes a little bit more time. And in a collection of 200 plants, that can be a lot of effort compared to when it's in pond and I can just look at the water level and know whether or not it needs more. So I highly recommend semi-hydro for these guys, but it is though important to know if you do have yours in soil, overwatering is the leading cause of like root rot and plant death. So try not to water when the soil is still too moist, because overwatering isn't about the amount of water you're putting in at a time. You should thoroughly flush the soil every time you're watering, but overwatering is about watering too frequently between waters. So try not to stick to a time schedule, try and stick to soil dryness instead. Pink princesses are pretty forgiving when it comes to temperature. Anything between like 16 and 27 degrees Celsius or like 60 to 80 Fahrenheit will be perfectly fine for them. They can handle a little bit higher and a little bit lower, but pretty much average home temperature should be fine. If you're comfortable in your home, they'll be comfortable in your home. Anything too low though, and your plant will start to have some issues and it could die. So avoid like really intense cold areas. We don't need that. Oh, hello fungus gnat. Sorry if you can hear one buzzing around. Because these plants originate from tropical climates, humidity is going to be super duper duper important for them. They really like humidity over 50% if possible, which is higher than most homes' humidity. My home is just generally quite humid, I think, because I have lots of plants, and in the UK, lots of homes just tend to be quite humid. So I don't have to worry about it too much in my home. I don't give it any extra humidity because it is about 60% around this plant all of the time. But if you have lower than 50% in your home, you would want to supplement it with like grouping plants together, as that naturally boosts humidity. You can put it on a pebble tray or you can get a humidifier. Any of those things is really gonna help boost the humidity and help it grow big and beautiful. Another benefit of semi-hydro is it does kind of act as like a pebble tray because there's water beneath it. Some of that is evaporating off throughout the day and it does bring the humidity up a little bit. So if you can't do any of the other things and you want to put yours in semi-hydro, that will also help the humidity a little bit. The same goes for having it on a moss pole with like proper sphagnum moss. Because I'm keeping this moss damp most of the time, it is creating just like general humidity around the plant, which I know it really, really enjoys. It's best to fertilize your pink princess like every 3 or 4 weeks in the growing season, which is usually spring and summer. you can slow down or stop entirely in autumn if your plant is not putting out new growth. But if it is putting out new growth, there's no harm in continuing to fertilize, because if the plant is growing, it's still using nutrients. But if yours has gone a bit dormant over winter, which is also completely normal, don't give it any more fertilizer, because it's not needing that and it can actually cause problems and burn the roots of your plant. I personally use liquid gold leaf for all of my plants in semi-hydro and in soil, so it's a great all-around houseplant fertilizer, and because it is houseplant focused, I don't need to worry about diluting it or anything like that you would have to do with more all-purpose fertilizers. So I really like it and I highly recommend it. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, I just really like their stuff, and I think my plants really do as well. If you are using an all-purpose fertilizer, it would be best to use it at half strength, because it's not houseplant focused and then could be a bit too strong for your plant and can burn the roots and cause fertilizer burn and just generally not be nice for your plant. So do keep that in mind with like general all-purpose fertilizers. A loose, well-draining soil is ideal for your pink princess if you have it in soil. General aeroid mixes should be okay. If you're in the UK, I would probably use something like the Monster and Philodendron mix from Soil Ninja, because it is just like the right balance of things for your philodendrons. But if you only have general houseplant fertilizer, I would definitely put in some orchid bark and perlite and stuff like that to make it a bit chunkier and like more well draining, so it's not just like holding loads and loads of water in, because creating chunk and that aeration in the soil is going to help the root growth and allow your plant to not get root rot and die. Drainage is also really, really important for plants in soil, because you don't want it sitting in a puddle of water after you watered it. So make sure that when you're repotting it, maybe like every year or two, you're making sure to keep it in something with drainage holes, because yeah, it's too complicated to think about like measuring water out for a plant that doesn't have drainage. So like I said before, I keep mine in semi-hydro. The semi-hydro I use, I think this one's in Pond right now, but in the future I'm just going to be getting my semi-hydro from Soil Ninja. They have fine and coarse semi-hydro, which I really, really like. I am an affiliate with them. If you want to try that out for yourself, use my discount code down in the description. But of course, no pressure. I just really like their stuff, so I talk about it in nearly every video. Oh, I just like it so much. Like, how can, if I like it, why not? It just makes it a generally easier plant, in my opinion, and you don't need to worry about things like overwatering nearly as much. Okay, I need to pause 1 second because my foot is literally asleep. I've been cutting off the blood flow to it. 1 second. Oh, I've got pins and needles. Okay, sorry about that. Let us continue. Support is really important for your pink princess plants. They are a climber, and so you should give it something to like lean on at the very, very least. I used to have mine on a stake wrapped in like sisal cord, and it did like that, and it did help it like climb up better and support itself. You can also put it on something like a coir pole, but in the end the best thing for it is going to be a moss pole with like actual sphagnum moss that you can keep damp. It is going to provide the best environment for the roots and actually give the roots something to like cling on to and help the plant mature and create bigger growth. So before I put it on the moss pole, I think this was the last leaf that it grew, and then since I've put it on the pole, it has definitely grown in size. Like, can you see the difference in those leaf sizes? But it's definitely grown bigger, and it is slowly maturing, and I know that it's really, really liking this. You can see that the roots are going into the pole, and actually at the back of the pole, you can see the insane, like bright red roots growing down through the moss as well. So I know that it is really, really liking this. The thing is with a moss pole like this is you do need to keep it quite damp in order for it to like continue growing. If you just have one of these and you don't keep it moist, it's gonna be the same as a coir pole, and it's not gonna give it the like benefit it needs. So trying to keep this moist is very important. You can just like regularly bring it into the shower and hose it off. I find that to be quite an easy way to do it, but with a plant this size, it's kind of a pain to lug to the shower every time I want to water it, and so I'm trying a new method, which I'm still experimenting with and working on getting it right for me in my space. But as you can see, I have a cup, just a plastic cup on top of this moss pole, and it does have a hole in it, and so maybe every day, every few days, depending on how hot and dry it is, I fill this cup up with water, sometimes fertilizer water as well. I think maybe like once a week I'll use fertilizer water, and slowly throughout the day it will soak down. I think I have to do more than 1 full cup a day because this is quite a large moss pole. I have been doing it recently and I've only gotten down to a certain point with the water. I'm still working on getting it to the bottom bit. My goal is to be able to hydrate the entire pole without like it dripping too much excess into the substrate, though it is pond, so it's not the end of the world if it does have some extra moisture to it. But if you had yours in soil, it can create a bit of an issue if the soil is staying too wet. So it is a balance, and it is something I'm working on. This is an idea from the Jungle Haven Claire. I saw it from her and I thought it was really smart and wanted to try it out for myself and see if I can keep my moss poles a little bit more moist like that. So I'm working on it, and I can do a whole video on it once I figure it out. If that's something that you'd like me to do, let me know down below. But yeah, I think this one's really, really loving its moss pole, so I'm going to be keeping it on it for the foreseeable. And like, as you can see, it's like nearly at the top already. So I don't know what I'm gonna do when it gets to the top. I might have to chop and prop and do something else, because I don't think I can extend this pole again. It is so freaking tall. Propagation of Pink Princess is super duper simple. Like all philodendron propagation, you just need to have a cutting with a node and you can propagate that. So the best thing to do is get a clean pair of scissors or a knife and cut just below a node, because the node is where the roots are going to grow from, and put that in your medium of choice. It can be soil, it can be water, it can be moss, it can be perlite, pretty much anything you'd like to propagate it in. I personally have been using moss for plants like this recently, and I found that they really like it, so I'm going to continue doing that. And especially if you've had yours on a pole and it has roots in the moss already, continuing to use the moss is going to be quite beneficial, because you're not like changing the environment too much. So yeah, it's really easy, and once it's sprouted roots, you can just pot it up into some substrate of choice, again, soil, pond, semi-hydro, whatever you like really, and you'll have a whole new plant. It's great. Unfortunately, pink princesses are toxic to humans and pets, so keep them out of reach of curious children and animals, because you do not want them eating these plants. The sap can cause like irritation to your skin, as well as like gastrointestinal problems, so avoid, if you possibly can, eating this plant. I personally have not had any issues, but I've not been eating my plant, so there you go. I also really want to talk about the pink Congo quite quickly. So this is something that was going on at least a couple years ago. I don't think it's as much of an issue now, but it's just good to be aware of if you are looking to get pink princess and you don't want to be scammed. This is kind of important information. So the Philodendron pink Congo is something that like plant growers created in order to provide the like super bright, like full moon, fully variegated pink leaves on a plant like the pink princess. But unfortunately, that variegation is not stable in any sort of way. It's actually induced by a chemical that's injected into the leaves of the plant, making them pink, and it will eventually go away if you're not continuing to inject this chemical into your plant, which you're not going to be as like an average houseplant grower. It will revert back to the green leaves, so don't buy yourself a pink Congo unless you are fully expecting that. They are super stunning with the full moon leaves. I do think they are beautiful, but just be aware that it is not going to last. So it's up to you. Use your best judgment, but if you're looking for this sort of like pink plant like the pink princess, get a pink princess, not a pink Congo, because that one will not continue. So that is it. That is how I care for my pink princess and how you could too. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things or other houseplants you want me to talk about in the future, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!